Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're setting the stage for a seriously mind-bending journey. We are going to travel all the way from the cold, unyielding logic of modern computer chips right into the deep, messy, and ancient biological reality of Pleistocene permafrost.
It's kind of the ultimate question of our modern age, isn't it? We're constantly bombarded by this idea that artificial intelligence is this brand new, independent, creative entity just pulling brilliant ideas out of thin air. But today, we're going to challenge that. We have to ask, does true creation actually belong to this modern digital facsimile, or does it belong to the profound, shared biological reality of the natural world? Take a second to really think about that. Who is the true creator here? The machine or the mammoth?
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. 1. The AI creator myth. 2. Crossing the semiotic bridge. 3. The ultimate divine script. 4. Ancient DNA time capsules. 5. Biological friction versus silicon. And finally, 6. The unity of species.
Let's dive right into part 1, the AI creator myth.
Look, here is the crucial reality check. A staggering 80 to 90% of AI compute cycles are just lossy, probabilistic hardware-level approximations. They are absolutely not doing exact math, and they certainly aren't dreaming up new concepts. When you type a prompt into a chat box, these massive language models are basically leaning on a hardware gambler. They just throw massive amounts of data at the wall, making highly educated, incredibly fast guesses that are burned right into the silicon. Sure, it mimics intelligence beautifully, but there is zero underlying comprehension of the physical world.
And this is exactly why AI is not an independent creator. If we draw on the cultural theorist Roland Barthes, the machine is really merely a scripter. Think of it like a blind mechanical vessel. It processes, it mimics, and it recombines massive databases of existing human culture. It operates as this giant, sophisticated blender of data, completely lacking any genuine creative agency. It remixes what already exists without ever actually experiencing the meaning of the words it's spitting out.
Which brings us to part 2, crossing the semiotic bridge.
To really understand how we command this massive guessing engine, we have to look at the huge physical divide we're trying to cross. On one side, you have our fluid human imagination, what researchers sometimes playfully call OS alpha. It's warm, it's highly associative, it's beautifully messy, and it is completely meaning-driven. But then on the exact opposite end, you have the arithmetic logic unit, the ALU, of the microchip itself. That physical silicon is cold, rigid, totally deterministic, and utterly blind to meaning. It literally only registers physical electrical voltages.
So how do we cross that gap? The solution is the divine script. Strictly formatted text, things like JSON or a Python script, acts as this incredible semiotic bridge. It's an exact deterministic translator. When you're writing code, you are quite literally tricking rocks into thinking, using lightning and text. It's wild, but this structured code safely compels your abstract human intent to manifest as a physical action within that unyielding hardware.
Moving right along to part 3, the ultimate divine script.
Now, we are going to make a major pivot here, stepping away from the digital world and diving directly into the biological. Because if we treat computer code as a highly structured text interface that dictates how silicon executes, well then, genetic code, our DNA, is the exact same thing for the natural world. DNA is literally the divine script of physical reality. It's this incredibly dense, beautifully complex text interface that dictates and records life itself.
And that perfectly sets up part 4, ancient DNA time capsules.
Okay, picture this. Miners in the Yukon are out there using these massive water cannons, blasting away at river canyon walls looking for gold. But researchers from the Hawkeye Institute noticed something entirely different hidden in the permafrost: tiny, ancient burrows. It turns out Arctic ground squirrels acted exactly like ancient pack rats. They hoarded twigs, seeds, bones, and within their fossilized latrines, scientists found coprolites. Now, coprolite is just the fancy scientific term for fossilized feces. But these unassuming little droppings, they actually act as pristine biological time capsules, perfectly preserving the ultimate text interface, environmental DNA.
Just think about the sheer scale of the biological memory we are dealing with here. 700,000 years ago, this environmental DNA was being perfectly preserved in these squirrel latrines. To put that into perspective for a second, anatomically modern humans didn't even show up until roughly 200,000 or 300,000 years ago. This genetic text interface was quietly writing the deep history of the world hundreds of thousands of years before we even walked the earth. So, what exactly did the scientists find tucked away between the twigs and seeds of these tiny coprolites? They unlocked the sweeping genetic code of an entire, forgotten ecosystem. We're talking the DNA of woolly mammoths, ancient horses, massive cats, steppe bison, and over 200 species of plants. They even discovered the genome of a previously undescribed, completely lost squirrel population. It's a perfect extant record documenting the massive environmental transition from the Pleistocene mammoth steppe all the way to our modern boreal landscapes.
But, as you can imagine, reading a 700,000-year-old script requires extreme precision. Scientists have to act as the ultimate stewards of this biological hardware. Step 1 is sterile excavation straight from those frozen canyon walls. Step 2 is incredibly careful extraction, pulling the highly fragmented DNA away from the sediment that protected it for all those millennia. And Step 3 is comprehensive genomic sequencing. They are painstakingly translating this fragile, ultra-clean genetic code directly from dirt into data.
Let's look at what this means in Part 5, Biological Friction versus Silicon.
So why does this ancient squirrel matter more than a modern AI? Well, philosopher Hannah Arendt really hits the nail on the head here. She wrote that true creation requires practice, an active, engaged doing that is completely inextricably tied to lived human experience. Real creation isn't just about generating output, it's fundamentally about the internal drive, that raw survival instinct, and the physical struggle of pushing through the messy maze of reality.
And this is the core difference. Think about the biological life of that Arctic ground squirrel. It engaged in genuine biological friction. It faced brutal elements, it survived, it interacted with a massive, vibrant ecosystem, and it built its latrine, leaving behind an undeniable, extant record of lived reality. Now contrast that with the silicon AI. It faces absolutely zero friction. It feels no joy, it experiences no grief. It has literally zero societal or ecological context. It is just a lossy wood chipper of data, blindly guessing the next statistical sequence.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 6, the unity of species.
What this incredible ancient genetic record reveals is that the idea of the solitary genius, someone just conjuring brilliant ideas out of an absolute vacuum, is a total myth. Just like the highly interconnected ecosystem captured in that single squirrel coprolite, human innovation and biology are deeply, deeply collaborative. The mind is a combinatorial kaleidoscope. True creation is the twisting and remixing of a shared, pre-existing database. Life itself is this massive, complex unity of species, all of us twisting the exact same genetic and cultural kaleidoscope to build something beautiful and new.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. In a world that is increasingly dominated by the cold, probabilistic guesswork of machines, where are you going to find true meaning? Will you worship the predictable facsimile of intelligence, or will you look down to the dirt, to the ancient DNA, and revere the deep, shared genetic authorship of the natural world? The profound, enduring magic of true, messy, lived creation is literally right beneath our feet. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. And as always, keep questioning the world around you.